Surprised to see 214 yards rushing against the Nebraska defense that normally has been good in the Scott Frost era. Christian talked about that. That has typically not been a huge issue, stopping the run. It's been more pass rush. Secondary's been good for Nebraska in the past, missing tackles all over the place today and non-existent in the pass rush. But once Northwestern got it going, Evan Hall, 22 carries for $119. That's 5.4 yards per carry. Cam Porter, 19 for 94. That's 4.9. Those are healthy numbers. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, again, going into this game, if you would have polled the average Nebraska fan, we probably would have said, yeah, I think we're going to have, probably 4 or 5 sacks in this game. It's going to be we're going to force them to run the ball on us. I didn't feel that. I didn't feel that at all. It just was just real easy. It just was, again, I think that as the game wore on, starting off, their defense wasn't bad. I'll say that. In the first half, the defense did a good job at sort of limiting the run game and forcing them to throw the ball. But as the game started wearing on, and you could make the argument for really both sides, right? For both sides, they had to run the ball. You know what I mean? Northwestern, every time Northwestern or Nebraska started running the ball, it was 10 yards, 15 yards, 20 yards. You know what I mean? It just was boom, 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 boom. They were just moving down the field by running the ball. It wasn't these elaborate 15-yard verticals. It wasn't anything like that. It just was, death by attrition, sort of, for both sides, really. I mean, to me, Mark, I know you're going to, there's a lot of stuff to sort of break down in the comment section here, but Mark, what do you gain from a game like this? Do you think Nebraska is, how do you gauge this game? When you really look at it, when you look at a Northwestern team, and I guess it might be really hard to sort of look at that because we just kind of have to watch the season go. But how do you gauge it? When you watch the way Nebraska played in this game.
I don't want to overstate this in cataclysmic apocalypse type terminology, like this is the end of the world or anything. But this is a pretty horrendous loss. Northwestern is a team that if you follow college football, you understand the deal at Northwestern. Not much talent, very resourceful program that is well coached, one of the best coaches in college football. They have put together a program where they know exactly, like Lemansky pointed out, they know their identity. They don't try to be anything that they're not. They are going to win in their good seasons. They're going to win with one of the 20 or 25 best defenses in the country. And most of that's going to be because they didn't take 5-star recruits that were destined to the NFL regardless. They took 3-star recruits and they put them in a position to possibly play in the NFL. And we've seen it all over the place. They just produced their first ever 2-player in the first round in history NFL draft in 2021. 2 Northwestern players drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. So their recruiting's improving, but still nowhere close to the teams we typically talk about. A resourceful offense, power running game. Nobody on the perimeter that's going to blow the top off the defense. Nobody. Malik Washington's a nice receiver. He would be a 3rd or 4th receiver and I'm not even going to go to the Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State receiver room. I'm going to go to a Penn State receiver room. Yeah. And he's going to play. He's going to play, but he's not going to be the number one guy. And so I don't think Northwestern's going to be the train wreck that they were last year. I think Pat Fitzgerald plugged holes. I looked at it this week. They added 4 transfer portal guys in the front 7. We talked about how confident and how good he felt about his offensive line this year. I think they're going to be a probably fringe bowl team, 5-7, 6-6, something in that range. But Nebraska is supposed to be challenging for the Big Ten West. They're not getting out recruited by Iowa and Wisconsin. They're getting out developed and outworked. They should win this game by what the point spread indicated, not in a walkover like they did last year, but they should win this game by 10 to 14 points. They should win this game 31-17, and it should be a hard fought game, but they're clearly the better team with the better personnel, and it should be a Big Ten win. But no, they blew another game.
100%. I think here's the reality of the situation. I've been very critical of Whipple, but I think Whipple did a good job. Here's the reality of, I guess, when you really think about what I'm saying. Mark Whipple, the offensive coordinator for Nebraska, can be an excellent guy. Like, he can help transform. Somebody said, leave Scott Frost in Ireland. Thank you, Charles Blake. That's pretty good. But no, seriously, like with Whipple, my thing with it is he needs time, right? Like, he needs time to be able to, like, if you give Whipple, and Casey Thompson 2 years, just 2 years, I think they can do a fantastic job. Like, if Nebraska can do enough, and this is the key of it, if they can do enough to win out this year, which we can get into this here in a second if you want, but if Scott Frost can do just enough to keep his job this year, I think next year, man, they're going to be really good. I really think so, because you're going to give Whipple some time. You just need a little bit of breathing room. Right now, it doesn't really feel like that. And I said that kind of leading into this. It just feels like a pressure cooker environment. They felt the pressure. It didn't go well. I'm not saying their season's over. You just need something to build upon this year. You got to do just enough to literally show Trev Alberts, the athletic director, hey, we're doing really well. We're able to sort of do something here that we haven't been able to do, and we can do that. You were talking about recruiting, and I want to kind of get back to that right now. As far as recruiting is concerned, Scott Frost is a guy that, since he's taken over the program, they've ranked, Nebraska's averaged about the 24th best recruiting class. So they're a top 25 recruiting class. I wrote an article about this before the season started. Is it the coaching? Is it the talent? Or is it both? It's not the talent. To me, whenever you have a top 25, recruiting class, it's not really about talent. It really more or less comes down to the conference you play in and how good of a coach do you have as a game manager, and to me, this is the talent alone. And you said it, they should have won this game by at least 10 to 14 points. You got to have somebody that can manage the game. And it just, to me, it seems like as the game went on, Whipple started the game off in control of this game. He started calling the play. I don't know this. And again, this is purely a hot take. So if you're going to go scorched earth on me in the comment section, please, I love it. I think Frost, as the game went on, started feeling it, because as a Nebraska fan, you started feeling the game start slipping away as the game kind of went further on. I think Frost started sensing that, and he started taking back more control of it. It's like, oh my God, if this goes bad, I'm getting fired. You know what I mean? At the end of the year, like, if we don't win this game, this is the pinnacle of the season. If I don't win, I'm about to get fired. And I felt like he started feeling that pressure. He takes back control, and this sort of mismanagement starts happening that we started seeing. You throw Smothers in there. Now, some of it's just bad luck. I mean, literally, some of it's bad luck. One of those throws that Thompson had where literally the ball was 7 yards out of bounds, you know what I mean, on the tight end that was wide open as he was breaking out. You're like, what in the heck's going on? You know what I mean? There's certain things like that. And a lot of it's decision-making by the quarterbacks. But if you go back, and I'm going to kind of throw a little wild ball out here. I'm a little all over the place sometimes. I love talking about college football. I get so passionate about it. But if you go back, and again, I always talk about this. If you watch that spring game, this was expected. You go back to his first play, you bring up the spring game, and I said this in the podcast I did. The first pass Casey Thompson had was a very accurate throw. It was a 10-yard out route that he hit, a slot receiver on, and he put it in a position where the guy was double covered, and he put it in a position where only his guy could literally make that play. If you're playing an all Big Ten nickel, defensive back, that's a pick six going back the other way. But because it was Nebraska, it was probably a fifth, sixth string guy that was playing nickel there, dotted him up. Go back and look what I'm talking about in the spring game. That very first play Casey Thompson had, because they sheltered him. They didn't play him in that game. They didn't want Northwestern or anybody else to know what they were doing. there was a tight end wide open in the middle of the field. Wide open. The next closest guy was 10 yards away from him. And I said that. I said, I was like, man, like this is one of those things where like you're in a game-like environment, you throw it, you make the wrong read, and it's funny because 4 or 5 months later, it just comes to fruition. It seems like when the game mattered the most.